to give you further perspective on what they were thinking when they built this platform, to what level of rigor they had to go in to make sure that despite any kind of failure, the system still stands up. So please welcome onto the stage some of these gentlemen who imagined, who have built, who have given up their blood, sweat, and toil to put this platform together. Let me invite up first onto the stage Keshav. He leads our nickel and the query language certification. Welcome, Keshav. Next up, Mr. Wayne Carter. Get Carter. He's our mobile expert. He thinks about everything that's on the edge. He lives on the edge. And let me invite next up Matt Ingenthron. You might have seen life-size cutouts of him outside. He's actually more handsome in person, I think. All right, Matt, welcome. Good to see you. Marty is our next man up. He built the search pretty much single-handedly. So Marty knows more about semi and unstructured data. Welcome, Marty. And last but not the least, Anil Kumar. He has been thinking about all our cloud and deployment and Kubernetes even before Kubernetes was a glint in anybody's eyes. So welcome. Now I'm going to sit down for a bit. Make sure that I don't create further communication issues here. Let me start with you, Matt. You've been here the longest in the company. And talk to us about what we saw in the demo in terms of all the performance stuff that I was alluding to and all the other goodness that was happening there.
Yeah, so you can imagine that one of the really critical things for any mission-critical database is keeping data available in the face of a failure.
Yes.
Like a network failure. I don't know if you ever ran into one of those. But you know, it could be hardware, it could be software, it could be, as mentioned, a cell phone tower, top of cabinet switch, any number of things. And Couchbase has long actually had a number of features for that. Rack zone awareness to be able to handle a zone failure on a cloud environment, or even disaster recovery features with cross data center replication. But one particular thing that we've had ever since the beginning is auto failover. We've had that since the 1.x series. In 5.0, we've extended auto failover. We've now added a new capability to Couchbase Server to have improved failure detection with the pluggable service monitor. So now we monitor more metrics from all of the services inside Couchbase, in particular the DCP service, where we're able to see data transfer between the nodes, and we can see what's happening between the nodes.
With all this monitoring stuff and the sort of independent verification and look into the state of the cluster, what is the improvement that we have really seen in this auto failure?
Yeah, excellent question. I mean, obviously it matters what we do with it. So with this richer set of metrics going into the cluster manager, we're able to detect failures much faster than before. So, and we also can do that with much greater accuracy than before. So we've gone from minutes down to under 8 seconds for being able to handle an auto failover. But we actually went a step further. Beyond auto failover, we've actually added a new capability of handling with XDCR. We're able to also look at cross data center replication, the acronym that's as long to say as the words itself. So we've now built on top of that to be able to work with different requirements in different environments. We recognize that cross data center replication is a little different than you need in other environments. So we built something called multi-cluster awareness that allows us to handle failover across clusters for more than just those everyday failures.
So this is what an application will work. No matter if the data center fails, it will actually detect that failure and go over to the other data center and still continue to work. The load will be transferred to the next data center.
Exactly. Well, a better way to maybe describe it is it allows those app developers and operators to express how they want to switch data from or workload from one cluster to another cluster.
Fantastic. So first was your auto failover, which is less than 8 seconds now,
Less than 8 seconds,
which means you can actually have the retry logic to say that every 2 seconds try something and you will be basically there in less than 10 seconds. This gives you that continuity, so you don't have to basically, if a cluster is for whatever reason broken, it's not like you have to back up and have a long queue, or you have to have complicated application semantics. You're pretty simply able to retry a few times and it'll be, otherwise when you had 30 seconds or a minute auto failover times, that was typically not possible. So it's a phenomenal improvement in terms of making the server that much more available for our customers to sort of have a very simple application logic to recover from failures. And the cross data center or cross cluster capability, which is in the client SDK now, makes it even more easy, as in you can set up 2 clusters and you can have the semantics of failing over from one cluster to the other if something were to happen in one of your data centers. So that gives you resiliency across data centers as well. This is what I mentioned by being able to be up and running no matter what failure happens. Fantastic, Matt. Now, our DNA has always been performance.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what have you really done? What have you done lately for me?
Well, we haven't stopped improving on performance. You know, performance at scale has really kind of been the heart of Couchbase for a long time, and the latest couple of releases are no exceptions. So a few examples recently. We've been able to increase throughput with high core counts with the data service by 50%. You know, we were already very high throughput, but sometimes when those core counts get higher, we had some places that we could optimize. We've also improved XDCR throughput, cross data center replication throughput, by 50%. Nickel itself has many orders of magnitude changes with things like pagination count, array indexing, unnest. Keshav, I'm sure, is going to tell you a little bit about that in a bit.
I'm sure.
There's one other thing, though, again. The other thing is we've also focused a bit on efficiency, you know, really being able to do the most work with the fewest resources possible. And so for that, we've introduced a new bucket type. The new bucket type is ephemeral buckets. And so the idea there is that if you have a workload that fits in memory, maybe you actually don't need the disk component to it. You don't need to provision, you know, a large amount of disk I/O to be able to support that ephemeral bucket. But you still want the ability to have failover. You still want to be able to query it. You still want to be able to connect other services. And so starting with 5.0 and extended with 5.5, we have all of that with the ephemeral bucket type.
Fantastic. That's a lot, actually, for us to be able to offer, as in now you can minimize the disk cost where you don't need it, or you can add them where you need it. And the fact that we have improved performance all over the place so much is also improvement in the cost, as in we're able to do a lot more with a lot less resources in its own way.
Make your apps more engaging, please.
Yes, fantastic. Now, let me switch over to a point that you started to make out there, Matt, which is about all the enhancements that we have done in the query world. A lot of JSON and squiggly brackets. So, Keshav, that's your land. And the moment you see that, you're happier. So, let's talk about all the data processing that was happening there. Give us a little perspective, because it looks pretty simple, as it should. But I'm sure getting through all those squiggly brackets is not easy.
Yes, JSON is simple. That's why it has become the de facto standard for information exchange. You know, the object data within the application can be easily represented in JSON. That's why JSON has become the standard top to bottom, from display to all the way to data storage. That's why we are a JSON database, right? JSON itself is quite flexible. That's why all the changes you are making in the application could be reflected in the application very easily and effectively, right? So Nickel is the declarative language for JSON. Nickel is the SQL for JSON, right? So Nickel can manipulate data and metadata that is within the JSON. That's why Nickel makes the whole data platform very programmable.
How does this basically help with the developer? Talk a little bit more about that. I mean, JSON is flexible. But how does it, the how part of it, how does it really make the developer's life easier?
Exactly. I mean, today Matt talked about the massively interactive business applications. And once you develop the applications, change is constant due to business requirement changes, user demands, compliance changes. So JSON makes implementing these changes to this business applications easier. For the developer, what Nickel provides is you write your query, Nickel engine figures out the optimal path and executes it effectively, right? And Nickel, as I said, it's inspired from SQL. That means it provides the standard select, join, project operations, as well as nest and unnest to handle the JSON objects and arrays, arrays of objects, arrays of arrays, and so forth. And in 5.5, we've even extended the language to support the standard ANSI joins within Nickel, as well as extending the ANSI joins with our innovations to support arrays and objects.
Sure.
And the key thing behind this Nickel language and the engine is our global secondary indexes that power the performance of the whole query and application performance.
So a lot of the, I know it's deliberate to put SQL on top of JSON. So, but the transition is typically a lot of these enterprises have relational sort of databases, and that's what they've used. What can they expect of Nickel, or what would be their experience? People who know standard relational databases, and when they look at Couchbase.
Sure. So if we now take the categories of databases, right? We had transactional databases, analytical databases. Now we have introduced the engagement database. Right? So if you take transactional databases like Oracle, analytical databases like Teradata, under the hood, they're all different. But they both speak the same language, SQL, right? Nickel is SQL for JSON. So we stand on the shoulders of the giants, and we have brought the essence of this great language into JSON and engagement databases. So it makes your developers, DBAs work very easy. For your Oracle or SQL Server developers, if they all know SQL, they can pick up Nickel easily. So in fact, just last week, we announced a new online training called Introduction to Couchbase for Oracle experts. If you know Oracle, you can pick up Couchbase and the Nickel very easily.
Fantastic. So basically, you're saying no learning curve. If you know SQL, just start driving Couchbase, right? This is where my lovely Tesla examples sort of come to fore, where it's like, driving, get in the car and drive. We'll figure out the engine underneath it. Don't worry about it, right? That's how you basically build the query engine underneath and distributed query processing and all that stuff. The language remains the same.
It hides the complexity.
Yes.
You don't, for driving Tesla, you don't even need a new license. You just write a big check to get it.
Exactly. Just write the check. That's all he's saying, right? Rest, he'll take care of it.
Exactly.
Fantastic. So that's the beauty of it, really, in the sense that you just don't have to learn anything new. The complexity of sort of doing a distributed computing and processing is hidden underneath the covers in terms of the layers of interchange that application developers need to worry about. It remains the same. Just like the way Teslas have the steering wheel, the seats, the gas pedals and the windshield wipers, everything is in the place where you normally saw it. They didn't have to think the way we are thinking, but they had to start with the car and the chassis first and just switch the engine underneath. But we get the luxury of changing everything. We didn't deliberately, and we built SQL just so that remains simple for everybody. Fantastic. Now, this is all structured query and query processing and query optimization and query plans and all that stuff in this world we understand. To this, we have also added the full text search capability, right? So let me just pick Marty's brain here. So talk to me, Marty. What is this FTS all about?
Sure. So expanding Couchbase Data Platform to include Nickel for structured data access has been a huge success. So we wanted to build on that success and add other ways for users to interact with their data. An obvious next step for us was to add full text search. Now, sometimes the differences between full text search and a Nickel query aren't so obvious. So we've distilled it down to 3 main points. First, full text search is going to have the ability to transparently search across fields. Ravi, as you mentioned earlier in the demo, you might have a name field, a title field. Users that search across that may not even know that schema, right? And full text is going to provide you that capability. Second, the index has to have the ability to do inexact matching. So that comes in 2 flavors. The first would be fuzzy search, where you can account for typos and spelling mistakes in the document. And the second would be specifically configuring language-based stemming, where you know a particular field is in a certain language, and we can use that to give you better search results. Finally, search results are going to be ordered by their relevance. The relevance is a score that measures how well a particular document matches your search results. As you can see in the demo, search is a really good fit with the rest of the Couchbase platform.
Absolutely. I think what you're basically saying, Marty, in one sense is that this is when it goes beyond just sort of data retrieval. It becomes like an information retrieval, because you can do like the fuzzy logic, and the stemming that he's mentioning is when if you're looking for a word like run, it can show you results which match the other sort of figures of speech of run, which is run, running, ran, all that stuff. So that's what makes this whole thing interesting, beyond just auto-correcting spellings and stuff like that. That makes it information retrieval more than just data retrieval. So that's why Marty says that when you look at the document, it's beyond schema boundaries, and you can apply on top of this lexical analysis, and that it brings the power of information that is actually sitting inside that JSON document. But Marty, typically, I've owned search and other systems in other places. Normally, we would write crawlers, which will basically go grab the data from databases and bring it into the search system, where it will do a little taxonomy and then, create its own index and stuff like that. And we always used to crib about, well, it's taking so long before information shows up and stuff. So that's how I would typically see this. What do you see the advantages here, or what were you thinking in terms of putting this stuff in the same platform?
Sure. Well, the biggest advantage is you no longer need to manage a separate infrastructure just for search. For developers, it also means you no longer need to make writes into multiple systems. You update your document in Couchbase, and we keep the search index up to date for you. I think here we are. Search is now a part of the platform. The future is really exciting. I mean, I can't wait to start integrating search with Nickel, analytics, mobile.
Fantastic. We already started with the mobile thing. I'm sure we'll do more with Nickel syntax and stuff like that. That's what will bring the power with sort of one unified programming capability out here. So that's what we have basically done so far by bringing the search and the query into one platform. Now let me sort of take you in the other direction, which is our mobile front. Let me take you to the edge. So there's a lot of stuff going on here, Wayne. I mean, there was magically a lot of stuff was working, but back in the day when I built some of this stuff, and you built many stuff, this used to be next only to pulling teeth. So tell me what all we had to do underneath the covers for this to look, and more than just look, make the whole thing so much easier.
Yeah, it is hard, right? Dealing with data management throughout the application stack and getting it out to mobile and doing that right is difficult. We make it look simple, but what's going on inside the platform is quite substantial. So when the data changed on the server and it flowed down to mobile, there was a lot more to it than that. So data changed in the Couchbase server. That change was detected by Sync Gateway. The access control policies of all of the connected clients were evaluated. That chain which pushed to the clients and the mobile devices that had access permissions for that data. The data change was raised as an event on the Couchbase Lite side, handled by the application code to refresh the UI. And it's even more substantial than that if you think about eventing in the query scenario, right? We had a search running, but the data was still being updated in the table. So as we raised events, we had to do it within the context of query. So it's move the data, secure it, everything's secure from the top to the bottom, fully integrated, and activate the right areas of the code that need to be updated in the UI. And when data is changed in the other direction and you want to move data from the Couchbase Lite up to server, let's say you did a stock trade on the mobile app and you want to share that with the server, the reverse happens, right? So Couchbase Lite detects the change, makes a secure connection to Sync Gateway, authenticates the users, applies their access control policies, validates the data that was passed in, and once it passes successfully, writes that data back to Couchbase server. All seamlessly connected and secure throughout the entire stack.
So Wayne, in one sense what you're saying is that all this is totally, from the start to the end, is managed by the Couchbase data platform, no other external agencies, no other integrations, nothing else was involved. It's just the data naturally moving that creates all this harmony and why you're able to see this stuff in a seamless fashion.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. So Couchbase manages the storage, access, transport of security throughout the entire application and network stack, and then you focus on building your applications. And that's really enabling for developers. They can get up and running, create applications that are highly interactive and that their customers love to use. It's also really enabling for the DevOps team. So it extends the reach of their ability to control data, physically control data throughout the entire stack. So up to the middle tier, across the middle tier, across the web, on the client device, both aspects of governance. So access control, do you have access to it? Okay, we're going to provide you access to it. Now you lose access, so there's a revocation side of governance that's also done. So thread the needle and unthread the needle securely and consistently throughout the entire stack.
Fantastic. And where this becomes truly enterprise grade is when we build features like on-device replicas and stuff like that, where it's sort of built for further failure, as in if for some reason the device broke and it's not functional, you just don't simply throw it away, or if it is not fully operational, you take the data out of it by having on-device replica, which is useful for further business continuity, which can be shipped back and stuff like that, and while you can safely discard the device. So this is the kinds of feature functionality some of our esteemed customers have asked for here, and we are able to provide them those capabilities. So thank you, Wayne. I think that's what makes us sort of enterprise grade, if I will, right?
That's right. We're the database for business critical applications, and that's the kind of features you're going to find. Things for protecting your data, especially in the business critical cases.
Fantastic. Now let me switch over to the real other end of it, which is not from the small factor of devices to managing the entire cloud infrastructure and automate things. So Anil, you've been doing this well before, like I said, Kubernetes was I don't know, maybe safely hidden inside Google someplace. That I remember you building scripts for sort of a lot of these kind of demos and other things where we can auto-deploy stuff, shell and Ansibles, I don't know what those scripts were. You've done a lot of that stuff. So talk to me a little bit about what our customers are asking for all these integrations and how we are just sort of going about it from that perspective of let's meet the customer needs for these auto-scaling and other requirements.
Sure, Ravi. So when we talk to our customers, what we found out is like basically understanding the pain points, right? So the pain points we came to know was ease of management, support for hybrid cloud or multi-cloud, running database with microservice architecture. So what we have done is we have built a native integration with Kubernetes. That's called the Couchbase Autonomous Operator, which you have heard a lot here today. So what this Couchbase Autonomous Operator provides is it takes away the operational overhead by 95%. When I say 95%, all these mundane actions of like deploying the cluster, managing the cluster, all of that is going to be autonomous, right? So with that, what it provides to the customer is like it basically takes away the whole operational overhead. Also, customers who wants to have the hybrid cloud or multi-cloud strategy, now they can take the take leverage of Kubernetes platform to which enables the portability across any infrastructure and any cloud, right? And finally, for customers who are adopting microservice architecture, can now run Couchbase as a data service within the microservice architecture, right? So they can scale and manage database similar to their microservices.
Fantastic. That's very good. So, but talk to me a little bit more about how we are actually building this, what decisions we had to make to actually, when it came to implementing this. I'm sure we had multiple choices, and we could have made a choice earlier on, which we would have regretted now, but how we are building. Give us some insight into that.
Absolutely, Ravi. Yeah. So, we found out there were, as you said, like there were many different options in the past, but we in fact we started with Kubernetes long time before in 2016. We knew that containers. We added support for containers in 2016, but we knew the container orchestration is going to be essential for this. So we explored. There were many different flavors, but we knew the Kubernetes was gaining momentum, so it became a de facto standard last year. So we found out this design pattern in Kubernetes called operator. So what operator provides is ability to extend the Kubernetes API itself, right? So you can. So what we built is a custom controller for Couchbase. So we have our own custom information, custom code for Couchbase to do all the operation for Couchbase. With this, now we can even extend further and automate the administrative operations, such as auto recovery, upgrade, backup scheduling, configuration management. All of that can be completely automated now. Right.
Fantastic. And what has been the general feedback from our esteemed customers that you have talked to?
So feedback is extremely great. So in fact, Scott mentioned this morning, so we have 20 plus customers and we have a lot of community who has been contributing to the beta program. We have been hearing a lot of good feedback. In fact, I recently saw in the Twitter some guy from, I think he was exploring the Couchbase operator, and he said he hasn't fallen in love with the Couchbase operator. So
that's exactly what we want to hear, that people falling in love with this platform and they're enjoying. So you got to hear from this panel people who have really built the stuff underneath the covers, which made that demo possible, despite that little Wi-Fi hiccup over there. It just pretty much ran seamlessly all the way from the cloud to the edge. And this is, the credit of this belongs to this group of people and the teams that work for them, which have really put the effort, the thought, and full realization of what an enterprise developer, enterprise-grade DevOps team would require. And that is what inspires us to go and build such a massively scalable, yet so easily manageable and so easily programmable data platform, which is all at the service of all of you. So I really want to thank these gentlemen. It's a pleasure and a privilege for me to be working with them. And I really enjoy, like I said earlier, these are the gentlemen who keep my learning current. And they challenge me and inspire me to sort of take us to the next level and build the kinds of stuff that will be really useful to every one of us. Because we have all done our tour of duties before and we know where the skeletons are buried. And this time we definitely want to make sure that there are a lot less skeletons and a lot more pleasure for all of you. So thank you very much. Please do thank this team of individuals for all the work that they do. Thank you.